Yeah.
Okay. All right. So cheers. I have coffee because it's a little bit of a different time. Water. It's a little different of a time for me, but I'm so happy that you're here because it's been like a hot minute since you've come on, and it's a little bit of a different setup. Obviously, my podcast is, evolving and changing, and it's chaos. So whatever.
Yes. Yes.
But I'm happy to have you on because obviously, like, you're my friend and my boss. So
I'm not your boss.
yeah, you're kind of my boss, but whatever.
Okay.
So, but I'm happy you're here because obviously we started off with having you come on and talking a little bit about different healthy habit stacking stuff in previous podcasts. And, we're talking about Form Fit, which is your company that you started, which is a local exercise company in person and online, which I'm involved in and I love as like a participant, and I am now a coach. So that's been something that's been fun. So we'll just let that cat out of the bag. And I mostly teach for you online and participate in person and online. So you'll see me there if you join. Also, like, I convinced you, well, you kind of already had the idea, but I kind of pushed you, gently prodded you to start a podcast.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Which
it was,
go ahead.
I was going to say it definitely was you prodding me. It was in the back of my head because I had been working with another friend of mine who had her own podcast, and I would come on occasionally. And then I came on yours a couple of times, and I really enjoyed it because I love to talk. And it really just felt very natural for me. Yeah. So, with some prodding from you, like, this really is a lot easier than you think.
Podcasting.
Podcasting is a lot easier than I think I anticipated it to be. Yeah. So,
and it's helpful when you have other people that are podcasting, because the friend that you were also on her podcast several times was also someone you connected me with when I first started podcasting.
Yes.
And having somebody to help sort of tell you and hold your hand a little bit along the way as you get started is helpful, because podcasting can be very detailed, and there can be a lot involved. And then there can also be pretty basic and simple. And it just is like a matter of what is best for you. But did you know that in the year of 2022, that they're predicting that a lot of companies are going to be getting out there and starting their podcast to get out there and niche, their brand?
Yes. And I've actually heard, I was listening to something the other day, how local businesses, this is one market that local companies haven't tapped into. Yeah. So, for the online world, I think it's definitely more common, but for local businesses, it's less common to see them podcasting. So
I know it's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. So your new podcast is Raising Healthy Humans podcast.
Yes.
I love it.
Thank you.
How long did it take you to come up with the name? Probably a little bit.
Probably not. No, honestly, no. I think, it's one of those things where I just was sitting there, just kind of thinking, like, what would I want to talk about? And I think because of what I do, I have always worked with moms the past 15 years in fitness, but I also am a health coach through it's the Wellness Institute. And that is very much about family health. So I was like, I need to converge those two in some way. And then that's where, like, my passion is definitely moms and movement and posture. But on the other side of it, it's also wanting to raise our kids to be healthy as well. Because, I think, unfortunately, the numbers are really sad, disappointing with where our children's future goes with health. And I'd like to make a change to that if at all is possible. And even if it's not, if I'm not changing the lives of millions, if I can change the lives of a few in my own community, then I feel like I've made a difference.
Yeah. And I feel like having kids be active and healthy doesn't mean putting them in 3 different sports every season, no, it just means, and like, being healthy doesn't mean that you have to go to the gym and work out constantly. There's like all different kinds of ways to be healthy. And
yes. And I think and I think when we think about it, when you just talk about health, I mean, I do think there is a big push and turn in regards to where we are moving. But it used to be, the diet that you're on and the exercises you're doing and what it makes you look like. And I think now we're starting to see like it is so much more than that. It's the stress that you're dealing with. It's the sleep that you're getting. It's how you're hydrating your body in addition to what nutrients you're putting in it through the forms of food. Yeah. And it has a lot less to do with what you look like and more about really what's happening on the inside.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're moving.
Yeah. That's like, no, I think that's awesome. Because you think like, oh, I drink water all the time. Well, you don't really drink enough water if you really think about it. And also like you think you eat healthy and you don't realize what you're missing in terms of nutrients. And yeah, you've got me realizing that. Especially, it was so funny because especially around like the women's cycle, like I always complained to you about like my female stuff. I've had some female, I had some female health hiccups recently. I've shared a little bit about that. But I remember you always saying like, well, did you take a look at your cycle 3 months ago? Like, where are you at today? What are you eating? Right. And I'm like, I have to eat more broccoli when I'm having my period. Like what? And then you're like, yes. And it makes a difference. We're just pushing magnesium, whether it's like a supplement or chocolate or
Right. Yeah. And the cauliflower and the broccoli and the things like that help with the estrogen, getting it out of your body. So I all of that. And then even with our children, you have 3 boys, but for our girls, like making sure that they understand this, because this isn't stuff that I was taught.
Me neither.
And I think that the more that we can really start to learn it as moms, we can start to make that difference in our children. And, like what I had said with the stress, when you mentioned our kids playing 3 different sports, that's a lot of stress to put on children.
Yeah.
So
I know it is a lot of stress. And I was thinking my teenager, like he's not really a sports kid. So I told him like, you don't have to be in a sport to be active, walking the dogs with me at night, going for a bike ride, riding your skateboard, little things, going to meet up with your friends to go play basketball or run around or whatever you're doing if you're a teenager. Like he's certainly making better choices than I made when I was a teenager, but I was pushed into sports, so I was pushed into sports and I stayed in sports until I graduated from high school. But he's like, oh, I need to be buff. I'm like, you don't need to be buff. No. You just need to move your body. And, also too, I'm in that whole like good, better, best zone in terms of like food. So you're going to find goldfish, you're going to find mac and cheese, but you're also going to find some other healthy options. And having those healthy options for your kids to snack on is key too, don't you think? I know you have like a whole thing about it.
No. And it is a constant battle for me. Because I feel like I have goldfish as well, but I
feel better about myself now.
No, because that's what my kids love. There was a time when Cheez-Its were entering the home, not because of me.
Right. Grandparents.
Yeah. And it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it for sure was grandparents bringing them into the home.
Grandparents. I'm just kidding.
And I kept saying like I can't have it in the home because if I eat them, I can't stop. So I just cannot bring those into the home. And goldfish was kind of like our give take situation. And they're not by any means the healthiest option, but you have to choose certain battles. And if I'm making sure that they're eating some fruits or vegetables with the goldfish, then I feel a little bit better about what they're eating.
Yeah. So I want to go back to the stress thing because obviously like we can, bounce around, but obviously I'm a little bit under the weather. So, you knew I wasn't feeling well and I had to teach class this morning. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to
you make it sound like I'm the terrible boss making.
She was making me teach class today. No, I chose to teach class. I
offered to teach.
No, I know. But it's one of those things where you're not feeling good. You push yourself as a mom, because when you're sick, even when the kids are sick, you have to tend to the kids or tend to your husband, or you have other things going on. So you can't just be sick, Right. So I messaged you yesterday. I was like, I'm just laying low. I'm going to watch movies. It was easy for me to lay low because I had a kid home sick. And we watched movies. I laid low. I had to take a call, like a virtual call, but that's it. And I just really tried to stay low key. So today I woke up and I was like, I can teach class. And it was one of those things where you start moving your body and you have to gauge whether or not you feel better or worse after you've done some sort of movement when you're not feeling good. And I knew after I worked out, I just made sure during the workout, I dialed things down. I listened to my body,
Right.
Got through the workout. It was a great class. But my thought process was that all too often we push ourselves to do more than we need to, stress. We are caring for other people and not tending to ourselves, also like added stress, and we could, if we just listen to our bodies and slow down when we need to slow down and take a day to watch movies when you don't feel good, and if you do still need to work out and move your body, still need to go to work or whatever, just listen to your body and slow down for a minute, So what are your thoughts on that?
Most definitely. I think the key is listen to your body.
Yeah.
I also think, as you were saying, that you and I both are in a point where our kids are fairly self-sufficient.
Yeah.
They're able to do a lot on their own. So I think for us to say, yeah, take time and rest when you need to, is great.
It's hard.
Yeah. But for those with little ones, they're not there. Like, that is where it gets very difficult for a mom. Totally. Because they are having to run around and continue to keep up with their kids. Also making sure that everything, depending on what life is like in their household as well.
Yeah.
Making sure that dinner's on the table and laundry's being done and all of those things. So it's very difficult to find ways to de-stress during the day. One thing that I usually recommend people do, and is it the best option? No, but going back to your good, better, best, if you can even just find little snippets of time throughout your day to rest, however that may be. One thing I had heard someone say, and I think about it myself because I work from home. So I go straight into working from home up until I get the text message that it's time to come pick my child up. And then I immediately get in the car and go, and then I flip, it's mom mode. And one thing that I feel like those of us, no matter what you're doing, whether you work at home or a stay-at-home mom or whatever, we are not taking that time to take a few minutes to decompress at the end of our day. Yeah. So I was going straight from work and then going to pick up my child. And then I went into child mode and cleaning the house mode. So taking, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes to just sit and be in the car before you back up and go pick up the kids, use that time to just breathe and relax, and don't allow yourself to have anything going on. I think we are so focused on everything. And even with podcasts, like we're always listening to podcasts. Something is always going on around us, whether we're looking at our phones, listening to a podcast, handling our families.
Right.
We don't have a moment to just be. Yeah. So if you could just find that 5 minutes, before doing anything, don't listen to anything, don't look at anything, maybe look outside at nature.
So hard. That's a lot of work to do nothing. Yeah. It's a lot of work to do nothing.
Well, honestly, I'm sure because you go for walks and stuff, which is very stress relieving, going for a walk. But how many times when you go for a walk do you pop in
my earbuds?
And you're listening to something. So you're then learning. Yeah, possibly, depending. I mean, some people, it's great if you can listen to podcasts for entertainment like this one, but there's also,
learning,
a lot of learning. Those of us who work, are entrepreneurs, we're listening and trying to learn. And that's just so much for us to always be handling.
So you're saying find 5 minutes to unplug, whether it's just and breathe. So I kind of do that a little bit. Like I started this a couple of years ago when we moved down to Florida, where I'm like, why am I not taking my book and going to the pool before, in between the chores and the work that my side hustles I have at home while the kids are at school versus, between picking them up from the bus stop. So I was like, I finally started carving out a couple times a week, going to the pool, sitting at the pool. Sometimes I bring a magazine, sometimes I just listen to music, sometimes I bring a book to read, and I need to get back into doing that because I haven't been doing that for very often. And I do find it very helpful for me from a stress reliever point. If I'm annoyed with my husband, annoyed with the kids, frustrated about something, I do take the dog for a walk. 50-50. I pop in my earbuds and listen to a podcast. Sometimes I forget and I don't have anything. And it is kind of nice to just listen to the sounds around you, and it is helpful. But that's a good tip because I think that a lot of us forget, but
and trying to do it throughout the day, like not just once. I mean, once is like start with just once, but then try to find, because we all have 5 minutes, and unfortunately most of what we do is scroll, the mindless scroll for 5 minutes, and we've got to stop doing that. We've got to stop.
How many times have you found yourself in the kitchen and you're just like, you get a notification and then you start scrolling through and you just get sucked into this wormhole of Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like a vortex,
Yes. Well, and I notice for myself, what I do is I have an intention to go on my phone for something specific.
Yeah.
And I get on there and I see all the apps, and then I start pressing all the apps because they all have notifications. And I'm like, what the hell? What did I just get on here for? So mindlessly scrolling we've got to stop that. And if we can do, even just like right now, I'm looking out my window, just looking and breathing, because the minute we see nature, it does have a calming effect on us. Yeah. So just finding ways to take 5 minutes throughout your day, and it doesn't even have to be 5 minutes, like 1 to 2 minutes would even be nice. Be more present.
And you're right. No, because everyone keeps thinking like, oh, I don't have 5 minutes, but think about this. Here's a good comparison. Unloading the dishwasher. That's the worst thing ever. And nobody wants to do it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to do it. I'm stressed out about it. And then I actually timed myself unloading the dishwasher. I know it sounds really dorky, but I did. It took me 5 minutes to unload the entire dishwasher and load it back up. And I'm like, that's 5 minutes. Why did I stress out about finding 5 minutes to unload this stupid dishwasher? Right. So, and like you said, it doesn't have to be a full 5 minutes. It could just be a couple minutes, take time out to like walk outside, take your cup of coffee, sit down in the backyard, get some natural vitamin D if you're in a sunny place like we are,
and not even have to sit down. Like, I think that's when people are, I think that's what starts to happen is we like, the excuses start coming in.
That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. All the things that you could do or
should be doing or could be doing, like unloading the dishwasher and vacuuming and picking up kids and running around. So that's what I'm talking about. Cause like right now we just got through January. Like January was like, whew, just quick, zipped right past us. And, and everybody always has these intentions, whether you consciously do it or subconsciously do it, or like are very specific and strategic about it. Going into the new year, you have these like goals, for business or personal or health or family or whatever. And then you set yourself up for it. And then you get into January and you're like gung ho for it, whatever you've set your mind to, whether you realize it or not.
Right.
And then all of a sudden comes February, Super Bowl weekend hits, and it all goes out. It all goes to hell. I mean, not necessarily because of Super Bowl weekend, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
you made it this long. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, right. That's true. That's true.
Like, haven't most people like it's like January 15th or January 17th when it?
That's very true. It was funny because
good job. You did great.
Yay. But no, this subject came up because my man babe was like, well, the gym is thinning out a little bit, because it got pretty busy during January. So he's happy because he goes really early in the morning. And then I brought up Super Bowl because, Super Bowl just passed. And he says that that's like his Christmas, because he like loves Super Bowl. But and that's when all like the food and the snacks and like you really, you have a full day of just kind of like the holidays. You kind of just let it all hang out. Right. So what would you say to someone who's like hanging on by the threads of their goals to stay moving and healthy? And
I would say
it's a loaded question.
No. I think we all have the best intentions and we all try to do too much. And this is across the board, like health and wellness, business, any type of goal that you have. We set too many gosh darn goals. And if we could just focus in on one thing, just focus on one thing, because even if it's one thing, if you only get 5 new habits in a whole year, how much is that going to change your life?
Yeah.
Yes, it's not going to get you in that dress by your sister's wedding. Okay. It probably won't. I'm sorry, but we've got to start looking at everything, not so much about what can we do within the next 2 or 3 weeks. What can we do long term? It's the marathon, not the sprint.
Right.
So like, what can we do for our health? And I like to say, I usually go by the let's focus on this one thing for a whole month. But for people who can't get whatever it is that they're working on, if you can't get it in 1 month, that doesn't mean you drop it. I mean, it may mean you should drop it depending on what it is. Maybe it's just not something that you care enough about.
Right.
And then move on to the next thing.
Right. So like little things like walk outside with your cup of coffee and stand in the fresh air outside for like 5 minutes, or go for a walk with your dog around the block. Doesn't have to be like a 25-minute workout,
Right.
Like
and
little things.
Yeah. And I think what starts to happen is like you or I, like you've given a few ideas. So when we hear these ideas, we think, oh, I got to do that. I got to do that. I got to do that.
Yeah.
But really just pick one of them.
Yeah.
Like which one resonated the most with you?
Oh,
and do that one thing.
Yeah.
Well, no, meaning to whomever.
No, I know.
Because you said, I'm going to go out, have a coffee, sit outside for the coffee, and then I'm going to do, go for the walk and instead of
just
thinking, just pick one.
Yeah. Because you get overwhelmed. No, I think I need to start going outside just to be outside with a cup of coffee. I already do the dog walking and all that other kind of stuff. I'm going
to encourage you. Okay. So when you go outside, take off your shoes, because you know how I am about.
Oh my God, you and your feet. Oh my God. Okay, wait. I have a
It's not a fetish. It's not a fetish. I promise.
Okay.
It's not. No, they creep me out. But
you're not on Fans Only yet, or whatever that site is.
I don't know what it is.
Okay,
like seriously, I don't like feet, but I understand the importance of feet for our health, and that's why. So go out barefoot. Put your feet in the dirt, the soil, whatever.